Oh, you made it! I'm so thrilled! Tonight, you're all going to be a part of a social experiment. And hopefully, this wakes some of you sheeple up as to what exactly we are dealing with here. You gotta do everything yourself, don't you? Hi. Welcome to Clown World News. I'm Talking Head McFull of Shit, and tonight we're going to be discussing what does America need? So, does America need another candidate for president? Does America need a grifting, coattail riding, power hungry wannabe? Next, does America need a backstabbing, two-faced establishment shill? Next, does America need a baby boomer lawyer who believes in climate change and wants to disarm the American people in the face of tyranny? No, no, no! You see, I know why these so-called candidates choose to have their political theater in front of the cameras and why they're afraid to stand up and fight. The globalists. You see, globalists have taken over Washington, D.C., unfortunately. And to these candidates, I have to say, don't talk like you're one of the American people. You're not. Even if you'd like to be. To the globalists, you're just a puppet. A little puppet on their little strings. You see, they need you now. But when they don't, they'll cast you out like a leper. So what's going to keep the globalists off your back if you're president? What's going to keep the globalist strings off your hands and off your shoulders? How do we know you're not just going to be one of their little puppets on stage? How do we know you're not already one of their puppets up on that stage? We don't. Judge a tree by its fruits, they say. Y'all got some pretty awful rotten fruit, if you ask me. I mean, just look at what they did to this guy. How are you going to keep yourselves from being indicted? How are you going to ensure that all the progress that you make as president isn't undone by the next president coming after you? How are you going to keep the deep state strings off of your little hands and back when you can't even explain what the deep state is? It's actually not fun. It's very serious. How are you going to do it? See, to beat the deep state, you need a ace in the hole. You need a anti-candidate for president of sorts. Mine is the shaman. Whoa.
They're all kind of saying the same stuff. Nobody's explaining how it is that we got here. Nobody's explaining how it is that we're going to move forward. Nobody's thinking centuries ahead. Everybody's talking about 2 years from now or a year and a half from now, the next election. It's like, bro, if we learned anything from the Trump administration, 4 years of having one of our guys in office is not enough. And it's a fourth of the problem. So let's talk about that. The bureaucracy, the deep state. The deep state is comprised of all three branches of government, legislative, judicial, and executive, being consolidated into a single branch of government that is constituting a fourth branch of government. It's a bureaucracy. And this is what the founders defined as tyranny. That's why they split the branches up, because the crown owned judicial, legislative, and executive. They could write the laws, enforce the laws, and adjudicate the laws. Okay, that was tyranny. That's why the founders split it up and had checks and balances. Okay, the bureaucracy, these bureaucratic agencies, which there are over 500 of them that are in charge with regulating commerce. Okay, they write the regulations for commerce. In other words, they're writing a form of law. Okay, and then they have their own law enforcement for their agency that enforce those regulations. So that's executive. So now you got legislative, you got executive, and they have their own administrative courts that are outside of the federal court system. That's judicial. That's tyranny. Okay, that is, and it's these bureaucrats and these bureaucratic agencies that are colluding with corporate interest, international corporate interests, international banking interests, to move money from public hands into private hands.
So I agree that most candidates are just talking about fairly superficial, quotidian kind of things and not getting to deeper problems. But when it comes to the bureaucracy and this issue of unelected, unaccountable people writing most of the laws, I think most of the GOP candidates actually are kind of mentioning it, at the very least.
But
Trump,
they're not explaining it.
DeSantis, yeah.
They're not explaining it, are they? No, they're just saying the deep state. We got to drain the swamp. Yeah, it's the deep state. Oh, it's the deep state. It's the boogeyman, basically. And it's like, well, unless you understand the root of the problem, and if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it fully. So these people need to explain simply, if they expect people to believe they can solve the problem, they need to explain simply what the problem is. And nobody's done that yet, that I can see. Okay? I just explained it to you in 2.5 minutes. Okay? And I can also explain to you how we can change it in 2.5 minutes. What I want to do is I want to hold the people that are running accountable. And if they can't say what it is that I'm saying, then that is contrasting their legitimacy. If somebody that's wearing horns and face paint can understand the problems of the world and explain them more simply than somebody that's running for president, we have a problem.
I agree.
He'd get my vote. I mean, look at what this bum did for this country with a little bit of face paint, a couple of horns, and no money. You see, you have to be willing to sacrifice everything and gain absolutely nothing. That's what it's going to take. So, in a way, you can see, he's not a monster. He's just ahead of the curve. These other candidates have nothing to threaten the deep state with. Nothing to do with all their money. You see, they have all these donors, and they think that they'll save them. They won't. You see, voting is making a choice. Choosing one candidate over another. Either your friend in the shaman outfit or another fox in the hen house. And pretty soon, there won't be any hens left. Who are you gonna vote for? Who are you gonna call when the tyrants are trying to take your guns? When they're trying to take away your kids? When they're trying to take your very God-given liberty and freedoms from you? Who are you gonna call? So I'm proposing that none of these candidates are right for the job. And maybe, just maybe, we should give the shaman a call when we want to start taking the deep state a little more seriously. Here is his